So let's take a look at Search Associates. Quite possibly the leading name in recruitment in the international sector. Very popular with teachers across the world. They have agents or associates, as they call them, working in many different countries. I believe they're a US-based company, but their reach is far beyond just the Americas. Their website is easy to use and it's easy to navigate. This is the home page. You'll notice that I have an account. Now, I'm not an active member, but I do still have access to their dashboard, and I'll be able to show you some of those features in a little bit. You can pretty much access most of the services on the website, especially the job vacancies, without actually being a full member. So most of what they offer, you can be viewed without paying the very high fee of $250 to access their full service. Their full service does include, though, access to liaison with their associate, and you are assigned an associate, and you are entitled to attend their job fairs, which in normal circumstances take place across the world. And to be fair, they are probably recognized as being the best job fairs in the international school environment. You'll find that most schools across the world worth their salt in the industry will be represented at a Search Associates job fair. So let's have a little look through. About us. It's not really something I want to dwell on too much, but you'll notice you can find out a little bit more about the company, what they're doing in the backdrop to COVID-19, their goals. You can meet their team, you can see who the associates are. It's good to see a commitment to child protection. That's always essential for me when you're dealing with people in education. And I think there is a compulsion on recruitment agents to do their due diligence on the candidates who they may interact with. As I've said before in other videos, schools also have the main duty. They're the ones who actually employ someone. But if a lot of the background is done by the agency, it's always pretty good. Candidate testimonials are always positive, and you can see a couple of other things. Schools that they work for, it's quite an extensive range of schools that they work with, and you can see across the world all the major continents which are habited are represented. I think it's good to look at Africa because it tends to be the most underrepresented continent, but you can see. I haven't counted if all 54 countries on the continent are represented, but there's a substantial number. Let's take a look at Zambia. It's fairly impressive. That's pretty much all of the schools within the Greater Lusaka area who are in the international sector, and they have representatives, associates with all of those schools. So if we go back, we can see that they have visits to schools. They get to know what the schools are like. And also they have their raison d'etre of the sorts of schools that they work with. So, of course, language of instruction being English and generally American, British or international baccalaureate. I would say that their biggest focus is American and international baccalaureate. It's much less common to see a Cambridge school on their site, except in the context of a school who maybe offer Cambridge primary pathway or lower secondary, sometimes IGCSE. But by and large, their high school programs tend to focus on American or IB schools. Leadership vacancies. Now, what I like about this interface, it's simple, It's easy to use, and by clicking on their jobs, you can get straight to the point. They offer other leadership positions, so other than the head of school, the executive principal sort of role. You can see there's not that many jobs, but that's pretty common at the moment given the global pandemic. And they also then publish the positions who have been filled through their service. So let's have another look at the head of school positions. We'll go to the first one in Mauritania. And you just get an idea of the sort of advert. The deadlines always tend to be quite long. And this one's about a month. Often it's longer. So a lot of schools recruiting at senior level obviously advertised long in advance. So there's lots of information about the school, some good pictures so you get a feel of where you might go to work, and a little bit about Mauritania, which is in West Africa. And then some of the key features of the job portfolio and what they want from someone. So being an American school, they prefer US citizens, but it's clearly stated. So you're not going to waste your time if you're from another country, and the ability to speak French is an advantage, not essential. So if you're going to go and work in a French-speaking country, particularly in West Africa, it's probably advisable if you want to interact with local people there. And as you look further down, as usual, it doesn't actually tell you what the salary is. It nearly always says competitive, and this is the same on every website and every school. They really don't want to say what their salaries are, which I'm not too happy about, really. It's most industries will actually give you at least the range of salary depending on your qualifications and experience. In the education game, we tend to be fishing in the dark a little bit if we are candidates. So to apply, you apply through Search Associates. There really is no point going directly to the school because they have advertised with Search and they will be availing of their full service, and they'll be paying them a considerable amount of money for that. So they will leave the recruitment process up to Search until really candidates are shortlisted, and they may take over, but working with Search still. So that's just one example of a job in the leadership sector. Now, candidates, there's some information to do with what may be on offer through Search. Like a couple of the other websites, the better ones, they tend to have a section on why teach overseas, the advantages of it. The school screening process, again, focusing on child protection and safeguarding, and a couple of other things you can check out if you want more information. Their job fairs. Now, this is probably where they stand apart in the field with their job fairs. Right now, their job fairs are being run using the internet, obviously because of the global pandemic. But they are offering a number of job fairs anyway online, and by going to their website with the free access, you can find out more about their job fairs. But I would certainly recommend them. The news section, impressively, is up to date. Great to see that they have recognized the global struggle of Black people and have made their own comment as a corporate statement that they support the ideals of the Black Lives Matter movement. And as you can see, their articles are pretty up to date and regular. I think I don't have access to regular job vacancies for main scale teachers, but they are the same, essentially, as any leadership jobs would be. It's only because I've logged in that I think that section's not here, but if you go to their site as a candidate for any sort of job, Search is going to have a wide variety of jobs. Like I say before, they are arguably the biggest player in this marketplace. So here is where I have signed up. I wouldn't even remember what jobs I might have applied for in the past. One thing about this is I never paid. I never actually got a job or went through to that stage with Search. But if you do pay $250 for their service, you're pretty much going to be fixated upon them to get your value for money. And I think that some teachers do find that they get caught in that Search trap, that once they're a Search teacher, they will tend to try to get the best out of Search. And if you don't attend the job fairs, whether or not it's worth it is arguable, because many of these jobs will be advertised on other websites. If they're international sector in the American school system, there will be other American websites available where you can check that out. So my dashboard. See, my status is archived. I haven't used it in quite some years. I never actually fully completed my profile. It's only on 42%. And I never did the background checks because I never actually went through any further with them other than just reaching out to them. So you can see the information that's needed to activate the account. Some of these you only fill in, like contractual things in the agreement, if you're actually going to proceed towards a job. My confidential referee shows is incomplete, although as you see over here, I have supplied 4 confidential referees at the time, but that would have been, it's about 4 or 5 years ago minimum. My CV will also be quite out of date, as will my passport. So you can just have a little feel for what you get once you sign up to their service. You can obviously save things in my school section. You can archive the searches that you've made, the fairs that you may want to attend, messages you may have received from your associate. So there's lots of very good information, and they do tend to be quite good communicators. So all in all, if you're willing to pay $250, Search are probably the best in the industry. They're not the cheapest, and they're not the cheapest for schools who use their service either. But the reason why they're able to charge such a substantial sum of money is because they offer quality. With some other agencies, you may be fishing in the dark a little bit. You may not get the same level of service. You don't necessarily know if the schools have been vetted by the agency, whereas with Search, you can rest assured that they have done those background checks and their due diligence. Probably better for American curriculum and IB candidates, but there is a wider selection of jobs than just in those curriculum areas. So for me, it's a thumbs up for Search. Well worth considering their service. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you've used Search before, particularly if you've gone through the onboarding process, how did you find their services? Put some comments for me, please, in the comment box at the bottom. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video. I'm hoping more and more teachers in the international sector or considering the international sector get to see these videos. And finally, subscribe to my channel.